This is part 2 of the how to surrender video that I just made. And forgot to mention that when you're surrendering to something, or when you're surrendering something, remember those are the two kind of ways. When we're surrendering our something, like I'm going to surrender my sword, here, take it, right? I'm surrendering something, or I'm surrendering to something. I'm going to surrender to God. I'm going to surrender to life. I'm going to surrender the universe, or I'm surrendering my life. Maybe not just yet. I'm surrendering my expectations, right? I'm surrendering my future. I'm surrendering my past. Here, take it. I don't want it. It's yours, right? So something that can help, there's many different practices that can help. It's basically if you like put yourself in situations where you feel like you don't have control and you're surrendering that control. Something that I was in a lot of was in business, is just about anything is happening that you didn't expect, right? Which I mentioned in that video is you just let go of your expectations. So for me, a lot of times when when I was in business, building different businesses and stuff, I just got rid of expectations. Which then that's why I was just having fun. I was having fun a lot because it's just creative expression. It's just for the sake of just building something. It's for the sake of building something to share a passion, share an experience with others to help improve their life and create value for them. But you'll see that when you're in business, it's like everything. You expect to keep your, let's say you've got 10 employees, you expect to keep your 10 employees. Well, someone's going to walk. Someone's going to get a different job. Someone's going to quit. Someone's going to, they just move on, right? Because everything is coming and going. So when you expect things to stay the same, yes, this is my dream team. I want to keep the dream team together, right? Highly unlikely, because everything changes in life. And that expectation is then going to create a lot of unhappiness when someone leaves. So had many people come and go, right? And that's the thing. So, okay, well, I'm not expecting you to stay forever. I'm not even expecting you to stay for the year. I don't have any expectations at all, right? So you're surrendering your expectations. Or if something kind of happens, whatever's happening, maybe customer just, acts crazy and something happens in the business, you're just surrendering to the situation, right? You're not in resistance to that situation. You're just surrendering to the situation. It feels a lot like you're diffusing the fire by just putting water on it, instead of what most people do is there's a fire and they seem to want to meet it with more fire, and then it's a firefight, right? This is resistance. This is anger. This is rage. This is about being right. Customer says they're right, and you're like, no, I'm right. They raise their voice, you raise your voice. They get a little angry on their face, you get a little angry on their voice. They start waving their fist and shaking their finger like this, pointing, and you start doing it, right? It just escalates. Like I said, it's like a fire that's spreading, right? It's very much meeting the masculine energy with more masculine energy. Instead, you become aware, all right, there's a lot of masculine energy. You hit it with, you're not really hitting it. You don't hit it with feminine energy, because the feminine energy doesn't go out. It absorbs it. It's an in. Feminine is an inner energy, inward, right? The masculine is an outward force, right? So customers losing or whatever it is, it's this, you're not trying to, they're hard. You don't meet their hardness with becoming hard. You become soft. You meet their hard energy with the soft energy, and the soft absorbs the hard. Their fire, your water. So the fire is then extinguished in the water. They're coming from a place of close and guardedness. They want to fight like this. You're open. Try and fight me. Let's hug. Right? So it's this openness. It just absorbs. It just absorbs it. And that's, you could say you're surrendering to that situation, right? You're surrendering being right. You're surrendering, wanting to prove yourself. You're surrendering your position. Always this positionalities, right? Really, like right and wrong is a good positionality. But the position, what happened here? And they got a story and you got a story and you want to just fight them on their position. All right. Right. So it's surrendering. It's surrendering being right. Right. Stop trying to be right. Right. Start being kind. Because being kind is always right. So it's surrendering to these situations. I got good amount of practice in business because just everything's kind of, you're just, the more involved you are in life, the more, it's like you can say the more training you have, right? The more training you have. So the more training you have, or you can say the more teachers you have. That customer that's angry is my teacher, right? My employee that leaves me and whatever, takes some stuff and leaves, they are my teacher, right? They're my teacher of forgiveness. They're my teacher to let go of resentment. They're my teacher to not hold grudges. They're my teacher to not allow someone else to control how I feel inside. They teach you so much stuff. But if you're not open, then you can't learn from any of this. You can't learn from any of these experiences. You have to be open to learning in every situation. And you'll see that if you're just open, you just start seeing it all. You start seeing that every experience is an opportunity to surrender, because your true nature is surrendered. It's fully surrendered. It's not trying to hold on to anything. It can't hold on to anything, right? So some of those practices. What's another practice? This is what I wanted to make a part 2, is because I wanted to give you actually some practical, some practices, things that were practical in, let's say, in my life. I'm not saying copy. I'm not saying that. I'm just kind of pointing it out so you can see, because they're already in your life. But if you aren't acknowledging them as a chance to surrender, then you just don't surrender. And you're continuing to wanting to control and power through life, right? But it's not. You don't power through life. You just apply force to life. But try it, and you'll see that the more force you apply to life, the more life gives you a counter force, right? Because there's this action reaction. Any force is met with a counter force. But what life is pure power. And pure power has no opposite. Any force is going to have a counter force. There's an opposite force. I push, I'm being met with a counter force, right? Force. I'm angry at someone, I yell at them, they're going to yell back, right? But the true power, the power that has no opposite, actually comes from surrender. So I said, is the ultimate power, you can say, is, even though it's not achieved or acquired, is the power of life. You surrender to the flow of life, the river of life, the stream of life. Let's make it a river. Let's make it a whitewater rapids river, right? So you surrender to the powerful river. You surrender to it. And then now that river becomes your power, right? You become one with that power. That river, you're flowing with it. The power of the river is going to take you. It's a lot different than trying to swim upstream, trying to go against the rapids, trying to go against the flow. That's when you're resisting life, right? You go against the flow, you're going to be met. You're creating resistance because you're going against the flow. Go with the flow and there's no resistance, right? You want to row your boat upriver or downriver, right? Downriver, you don't do anything. It's effortless. Right? You put your paddles in, enjoy the sights, enjoy the scenery, right? And that's living life in being surrendered. It's effortless. You're enjoying it. Yes. Right. So it's just like good going down river. The scenes are always changing, right? Things are always different, but nothing's permanent, right? Nothing's permanent. So that, a lot of business and stuff. And like, at certain times I had like 3 businesses going at the same time. So dealing with like customers here, customers there, different teams, different people working. So got a good exposure, playing a lot of sports, different people, different personalities, different kids growing up, right? Here, I'll give you another one, like another younger usually got like teased, weight issues, skin color issues. People call it racism. Yes, it is. But you see, like, I quickly realized that it's like when I meet this with, they're saying it's like a hockey team and I'm like the only dark skinned kid on the team, right? So got picked out and, whatever it is. It's again, fear of, now when you look at it, it's just, they're fearing what is different. They're fearing what is unknown. They can't conceptualize someone. It doesn't meet in their kind of their box, right? Their conceptual box. So it can't be put in that conceptual box. So it's different and it's unknown, right? Oh, that's new. We haven't had that before, right? So then there's, poking fun and not accepting it, right? Not accepting that one. But then if I'm meeting that kind of force with now a counter force, then it perpetuates the whole situation, right? Whereas if you just surrender to it, then it's like you absorb it, and it's like there's no resistance, and that's like the saying, right? What you resist persists, right? When you're resisting it, then the whole situation is going to persist. So it's just surrendering to that. And that's the thing, is like, because it's this action reaction. In those situations, you see this with kids a lot, little kids, is they're trying to get a reaction out of the other kid. They're trying to get a rise. They're trying to get on their nerves. If it just shows, you call me whatever you want. And if I'm not bothered by it, if I'm not moved by it, if I'm not shaken by it, I just sit there. You literally have nothing. You can't do anything. You can't do anything. You're trying to get some sort of reaction out of me. Really, it's the ego that's trying to get a reaction out of this ego. And then when it doesn't respond, then it's not feeding that ego, you could say. But when you're not getting that response, when you're not getting that reaction, it's like there's no ammunition anymore. There's no fuel for it. There's no energy, because it's like it's feeding off of that energy when you kind of give it back. But when you're not giving it back and you're just absorbing it, you're not giving it back. You can't, the other one can't do anything. The other one can't do anything. Right? So saw that really, really early on in life. Just surrendering to it. Right? Just surrendering to it. It is what it is. Accept the situation, accept myself. Once I accept myself, then it's like, oh wow, that whole like racism it's not a problem anymore. They don't accept me. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if people accept you or not when you accept yourself. Right? So again, there's another practice, right? When we were talking about in the last video, acceptance. Right? So when you accept yourself, then you're no longer looking for others to accept you. I'm not looking for my hockey team to accept me when I accept myself. No way. What's easier, for one person to accept himself or for 17 other players to accept this one player? Right? It's a lot easier. I know at first it doesn't feel like that, but it's a lot easier for you to accept yourself than ask the world to accept you. The chances of 8 billion people accepting you are very, very slim. Right? I bet you have better odds accepting yourself. Try that first. once you accept yourself, then it won't matter at all if anyone else accepts you. The only one that matters is that you accept yourself, right? So there's another example: acceptance, surrendering to the situation, accepting the situation, accepting yourself, right? Remember in the other video? Acceptance, letting go, trust, surrender, right? Throw on another one, make it round 5. Allowance, okay? Stop resisting, you start allowing. Stop holding on, you start letting go. Stop doubting, you start trusting, right? Stop controlling, you start surrendering, right? So, what's another one? I like the practice. I mean, I won't get into this and like I said, the health benefits and energy and mental clarity and all this stuff with cold showers, but I like surrendering to the cold, right? Putting yourself, having like just that discipline to just basically pick something and go, I'm going to lay in the snow. I'm going to take a cold shower. I'm going to jump in a cold lake, right? So don't know why they're all about coldness. You can do it for different things, but you just put yourself in an uncomfortable position or an uncomfortable experience and surrender to it. And you just surrender to it. So it's like you find that the more you fight the cold, the more it's a problem, right? Again, you're meeting it with a resistance. The more you resist it, you notice that if you just get in a cold shower at first, you just want to resist it. And then you go, and you're just feeling it. You just surrender to the coldness. You surrender to the coldness, and you actually find that you become the coldness. You surrender to the flow of life, and then you realize that you become the flow of life. Now, in reality, you're always the flow of life, but from the separate self perspective is try it. Get in a cold shower. You'll find like, you're fighting it. You're fighting it more. The more you fight it, the more cold you feel. And then you just go, surrender. Just breathe out, surrender. Breathe out. It is what it is. Accept the cold. You become cold. You feel that cold deeper. You become cold, but without the resistance, without the, this is a bad experience label. This is bad. This is going to hurt. This is hard. Without all those thoughts, because you've surrendered to it fully. There's no resistance, and you just become that cold. So whatever it is, I jumped in lakes and did like these cold water challenges just for the fun of it, not in front of people. It's not an ego booster. Sometimes just by myself, sometimes just with a friend, right? Just someone to, make sure that no one runs away with the clothes on the shore. But it's these little practices that like it's what you practice these things, and then like it's like you can learn from these little practices, and then you apply it, you can say, to the rest of your life. Like you take that surrendering to cold water in the morning with your practice, and then when shit hits the fan, when you're running your business, you surrender to that too. It's like it's like a practice. Whatever you practice, you get good at. You practice surrendering to cold water, all of a sudden you surrender to an angry customer. You surrender to your partner always wanting to be right and controlling. You surrender to kids always making a mess in the house, right? It's like it just becomes the new you can say. In reality, like I said, is your true self is already unconditionally surrendered. It's not holding on to anything, right? So a lot of these practices, like I said before, and with some of these practices for enlightenment, it's like you're practicing your true nature. But that's like a little bit of a contradiction, because if it's your true nature, how could you actually practice it? But I mean, unless you're actually, like I said, it's just something. If you're going to do something, you might as well do that, right? I think that can be agreed upon. agreed with. If you're going to practice something, you might as well practice being what you are, right? Even though being what you are, being yourself, actually is effortless. But what the practice really is it's removing the effort. It takes effort to wiggle around in the shower and fight it and go and start going like this, or to start walking around in circles when you're, in cold water in a lake or whatever, and fighting it. But to just sit there, effortless, right? And you start realizing that when you remove the effort, then it's like you overcome whatever was in the way, right? It's kind of like that. People kind of like who talk about like manifestation and stuff like that, law of attraction type of circles. It's funny because like the more you want something, the more you're desiring it, you're creating this like resistance to what it is, because you're creating this separation to that you're not already that. Right? You're creating this, you're ingraining that belief in separation. You're meeting it with force instead of just surrendering. When you surrender, it's now power. And the power, it's more like a magnet. It's like you magnetize it to you. So cold showers, like stretching, yoga positions, just getting into a difficult position, something that, okay, I'm tight in my hip flexors, or I'm tight in my lower back, or I'm tight, and just surrender, just let go and just relax into that position. Get into the position and then just relax, surrender. Don't try and fight it. Don't try and contract. Don't try and do anything. And then you just have this feeling of just melting. Just like in the cold water, cold shower, you're just melting. You're just dissolving into the coldness. There's no you in coldness. There's just coldness. There's no you trying to stretch. There's just stretching. Right? It's merge. It's a dissolution, this dissolving, this melting. And that's the thing. You apply that to your life. So when you're feeling like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, I don't know what's going to happen, I'm worrying, just surrender to not knowing. Surrender to not knowing, then you're now the flow of life, and you're not interested in what's going to happen in the future because you're just flowing right here, right now. You're never worried about what's going to happen the next day when you're fully present right here, right now. The next day does not exist. What exists is here and now. And you're fully immersed or you're fully merged with that, with this experience here now. So, I mean, you could try a lot of different things. Eat some spicy food. Surrender to the spice. You find like the more it's hot, and you make a big scene and you want other people to see you, and sticking out your tongue is so hot you ate whatever, a medium hot chicken wing or something like that. You find that the more you create that resistance, the more it becomes hot. When you eat something hot and you surrender the hot, just feel it. It's like the hot, like I said, it's like you're dissolving the hotness, or you can say you're dissolving into the hotness, whatever you want to use. But there's just the experience of hotness. What's another one to make it? Uncomfortable feelings. Make that a little bit more practical, in case you're not one to eat hot chicken wings. Uncomfortable feelings. So when the sadness, let's pick sadness as an example, is the sadness. Most of the time, I don't want to feel sad. I feel it coming up. No, you want to run from it, keep yourself busy, watch Netflix, go cut the grass, redecorate the house, whatever it is. You will do anything but feel the sadness. But can you just sit, surrender to the sadness, and feel that sadness fully? Can you feel the sadness? Feel the cringing in the face, and just the pain and the anguish in the face, the sadness in the face. Just feel all those, where you just become, there's no body anymore. It's like you just become this face and just feeling it. And then even then you merge even more. And then you just become like your eyes now getting kind of like watery and can almost feel like swollen and like they're just gonna explode, and then they do explode, and now like some tears, well, maybe not, they just don't explode, but some tears start just kind of breaking away, and then now you're feeling that tear, and then now you're no longer a person, you're the experience of the tear going down your cheek. Like, you're no longer a body that's crying. You've surrendered so much to just the feeling of sadness that you are sadness. You are you're that full experience. You go fully in, and you're like the tear going down the face, trickling down the face. And at that level, you find beauty in the sadness. It's such a, I don't know if you might sound like I'm crazy talking about this. I don't know if you've experienced it like that. You might switch it for sadness. Sometimes you can just get a tear of joy. But when you're so present that you're the tear and you're just feeling, and this tear feels, again, time just vanishes. There's no time when you're in the present moment. The present moment is timeless. And this experience of this, it's like it's making a journey down the side of your face. And it's like, oh, it's picking up speed. Oh, it's getting bigger, right? There's no commentating. There's just this you can just feel the contour of your, I guess the convex of your cheek, like just the feeling of the cheek. But you're like a water droplet. You're this tear, and you're just sliding, and you don't know, like, is it going to go here and make a turn, or is it going to go down here? You just know everything is just so unexpected, right? You can't predict, right? So, but you're just fully immersed in that feeling. You go, man, that, like, you found beauty in the sadness. You totally dissolved, right? Whereas again, it's like what we do is we don't want to feel the sadness, all this resistance. We don't want to feel the hot, spicy chicken wing, right? You don't want to feel the coldness. But when you just surrender to it, you feel it fully. And when you feel it fully, you're feeling it fully because there's no resistance. And when there's no resistance, well, you're not suffering from sadness anymore. You're not suffering from hot chicken wings anymore. You're not suffering from a cold shower. Suffering is only possible when there's resistance. You remove the resistance and there's no suffering anymore. Right? So those are a couple different experiences that I'm sharing. Hopefully this was any benefit to you, making a part 2. And try and look for some of these things in your life. And if some of these sound like you want to maybe start eating some hot, spicy food or start taking some cold showers, try it. Try it. It's one of those things. I still do it to today. I've been doing it for maybe like 10 or 15 years, is like cold showers. And it's the other thing. Whatever you surrender to, here's another good point. Whatever you surrender to, you love. Because surrender is love. To surrender is to love. To surrender is to love. The only thing that can make you surrender is love, when you're just loving it, right? That's the ultimate surrender. So when you surrender your life, the only thing that can make you surrender your life is love, right? So whatever you're surrendering to, it's like, you just love feeling your emotions. You just surrender to them. Most people, I don't want to feel my emotions. Me, bring them on. I love it. Bring on the good stuff, bring on the bad stuff. Because once you actually surrender to any emotion, you're surrendering your judgment of the emotion. There no longer is good and bad emotions, because that is surrendered. So the emotion is just emotion. Emotion is just energy in motion. So you're just surrendered to the energy. You just become the energy, whatever it is. They're all, that's the beauty of emotions. They're all different, right? But as long as you go, this kind of feels like a bad emotion. This is a bad situation, probably going to create some bad emotions. I am not down with that. No way. Let's put all those there. Let's hold those down. I don't want to feel those things. Keep those down. I'm going to suppress it, right? Again, look at all this force, right? Resisting it. You surrender it, feel it fully, it gets released, right? And then you start loving whatever it is. You Surrender to the heat, you love the heat. Surrender to the cold, you love the cold. Surrender to stretching and yoga, you love the stretching and yoga, right? Try it. Whatever you surrender to, you'll notice that you start loving. Surrender to life, start loving life. See you in the next one.